Why X? X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. X is a sex-defining chromosome. X can be the problem and the solution. X is mysterious, forbidden. A plan of attack. Child's play. The X factor. Who has it? Why? Is it the multiplying factor? X as in exceptional? X as in exclamation? X as in sexy? X of a generation? Yes, that X. X at the heart of innovation.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome from the team. It's very smoky up front. A very warm welcome to you all here in Manchester. A warm welcome from the Essilor Limited team in the UK. I'd like to also extend a welcome out. This is the first time we're live streaming this event, so we've got many customers who couldn't make it to Manchester who are viewing virtually in this new digital world that we're in. So a warm welcome to our customers there as well. It's a significant event, and I'm really proud to see so many of our customers in front of me here today. It's a significant event that we're bringing out our next generation of Varilux. And when we do bring our generations of Varilux out, there's normally a change in the marketplace. We see that from our businesses. Hopefully, when you reflect back on previous generations of Varilux that you've taken to your customers, it's brought innovation and relevance to your patients. And today, that's what we're going to be talking about, that the consumer is changing, the patient is changing, their needs and visual requirements are changing. And we've embraced that and embedded that into our next generation of Varilux. And you'll learn more about that over the course of the day. So I'd just like to share with you the journey that we're going to go on today. It is a celebration. We're going to have some fun. We're going to share a lot of interesting insights around the consumer and really highlight some innovation and differentiation in this new product. So myself, Randeep, I'm the Commercial Director at Essilor. Just a short welcome, a few slides about Essilor internationally, our vision, our mission, our ambition in the UK market. I'd like to share that with you. Then I'm going to pass over to our marketing team who are going to share with you some consumer insights. From those consumer insights feeds into our R&D, and the way that we're developing product has changed through the measurement methodology that we take forward. From that, we'll share our next generation of Varilux, what it's about, the innovation in that product, how it's different, and then we'll move into share some wearer trials and share those insights from the wearer trials to you. We'll break for lunch, we'll reconvene back here, and then we'll have some opportunity to bring some ambassadors on stage who've been wearing the product and also have been commercially selling the product. So a great opportunity for you as the audience to ask questions to our ambassadors around the product. We will then have a break, and then we'll get a bit more interactive, share some insights around personalization and what that personalization journey can look like with our product, and then we'll break and have a Q&A at the end of the day. So that's the running order. I would like to just start that off with sharing some insights around Essilor International, and us, Essilor Limited, fully embrace our international ambition. So some big numbers up on the screen here. 7.2 billion global community, and we all need to protect our site and preserve it for healthy longevity with vision. The data is quite compelling when we look at over 60% of that global community require vision correction. When we look at some of the numbers, 5.8 billion consumers in that global community today do not protect themselves from harmful UV and blue light. There's a massive awareness initiative to be delivered there from manufacturers as well as eye care professionals. Sad number up there, 2.5 billion people today live their lives with uncorrected vision. So particularly if you think about children, how that impacts their early learning years if they cannot see with clarity. 80% of it is correctable. Working together in partnership with eye care professionals, Essilor is passionate about working in these areas about correction, protection and prevention. If we can deliver workable solutions in partnership with eye care professionals, we can lower these numbers dramatically. It's our global mission and ambition. We're going to be talking a lot today about innovation, and it's not just about innovation in product. Yes, we're talking about our 8th generation throughout the day, but we like to think that we innovate on many platforms within products, within the categories of progressives led by Varilux, photochromic with transitions, AR with CarlZeiss, but we also innovate in services. The vast majority of the product we sell is transparent. So if we think about the consumer today, how can we convey those messages around high performance products? So we've bought items like Nautilus. Virtual reality is the way forward, and we've got these devices now that can help showcase high performance products and the benefits of those. Business models, we're innovating in business models. So the example here, iMitra, it's an initiative that we've launched in India, reaching out into those deprived communities, setting up eye clinics on a permanent basis to help deprived people to see better. If they can see better, they can be more productive in their lives. And we're taking that spirit and we're looking to develop that in the UK market as well. Talking about innovation, now focusing on Varilux, just a very simple timeline here. Essilor was the first to bring a progressive lens to the market in the 1950s. Since then, we've been wholly committed about driving category growth with progressive lenses. It's the best visual solution for a presbyopic patient. And you can see over the years we've brought products forward, Comfort, Physio, Ipsio, in more recent times, Varilux E series. And in 2012, we brought Varilux S series to the market, which had its own uniquenesses, and we really brought forward personalization. And you'll learn more about Varilux X series, which will supersede this product and bring personalization more to the forefront. So we innovate in product and we innovate in technology within Varilux. And you can see over time, we've brought technology forward that has been market leading. Live optics, iCode, wave management, and more recently in Varilux S series, nanoptics. I'd like you to think about 3 things and walk away thinking about 3 things. One is a great opportunity as you learn more about this new generation of Varilux. It's a great opportunity to embrace a point of differentiation with this product. There's nothing out there today in the market that brings this type of innovation and visual solution to patients. So embrace the innovation as a point of differentiation. It's common knowledge that independent eye care professionals are the experts when it comes to clinical work with consumers. So reinforcing your message as the best-in-class clinicians, coupling it with a best-in-class product, it's a nice marriage. And that marriage creates value for your patients in their visual experience and also from a business point of view. Us working in partnership together, I truly believe we can work on all of these 3 goals. Partnership, it's at the heart of what Essilor does. Partnership with independent opticians. We strive to be the best business partner to independent opticians. Here, we're being very transparent with our business. So we've always been biased towards independence. In 2005, 72% of our value of our business was driven in partnership with independent eye care professionals. Today, it says 2016, but today, month of May 2017, 91% of our business sits with independent opticians. So it's wholly in our interest, if we're thinking selfishly, that we want to see independence not just survive, but thrive on the high street. We can only do that in partnership, and that's what we're doing. And hopefully you see that with our media initiatives, that we're trying to drive brand awareness to consumers and drive that brand awareness to independent opticians. Continuing on that theme of partnership, we invest significantly in R&D. You'll learn more about the next generation of Varilux today. Within that portfolio of product, there's products which are going to be exclusive to independents. I say exclusive to independents because some of those products will need to use iCode. You'll need to use the VisiOffice. And embracing a new strategy from Essilor called Essilor Bespoke, this whole personalised journey, physical journey that the patient will walk through, and embracing technology is something truly unique. And we're only offering that to independent opticians, a real point of differentiation. So I'd like to close, before I pass on to the marketing team, just a short video which brings more, highlights more of our partnership initiatives to you. So it's not just around product.
This is the best thing that you can write for yourself. And for sure, I'll take care of you anytime, everywhere. So, now release your wish.
Talking about the consumer target, the group that we're going to be talking to about that product is a presbyopic market, the varifocal market. We know that we are facing the aging of the population in the UK, but in all of other countries as well. And the group of people that we've been dispensing the product, Varilux, varifocal, historically, it's that group of people that we call the baby boomers, born between 46 and 64. That product has been thought with another generation in mind, which is what we call the Generation X. Generation X, people born between 65 and 1980. What's very interesting with that generation is that the way they live their life is very different to what the baby boomers were doing. And that's what I'm going to insist in the next 5 to 10 minutes. The way they live is very differently. And before to start about the product and the innovation process, I think it's really worth sharing with you, with that generation, what is the environment they've been growing up into. And I want to share a quick video with you. So we've put a lot of those stats together, and we've identified really 5 key attributes to that generation. Young and active, today in the UK, is still 1/3 of the workforce. Late parents, the previous generation, maybe they were parents around the 25 years old mark. Today it's more the 30 years old mark, so it's a bit later. Feel always rushed. It's a generation which is, for example, buying online much more than the previous generation. And one of the main reasons for doing that is because of time. They want to save time to do something else. Multitasker. They want to be the best at their work. They want to be the best with their family. and they want to do good and be involved in charity and things like that. So there is that element of multitasking. And last but not least, connected. That's maybe the first generation who have really been growing up with laptop, with internet, more recently the last 10 years, 15 years, smartphone, tablet. So that's the first time that a consumer has been growing up with that environment around them. So those 5 key attributes are quite important for what we're going to talk about later. We went a step further in the research, but what was very, very clear, that generations compared to the previous one, 2 key things, 2 takeaway message, acceleration of the pace of their life, so they want to do more and faster, and multitasking. Multitasking is something absolutely key for them. We asked them a lot of questions, and something which was really clear in those research is that they've got something happening, all the things which really matter for them, which is emotionally important for them, is things happening at arm reach. There is a couple of examples on the slide, but we've realized, without jumping to the product quickly, that we had to do something from a product innovation point of view for everything which is happening there. When you're going to hear about the product, you're going to understand a bit more what I'm talking about. That notion of arm reach is something absolutely key for what we're going to talk about. That's what we thought. That's the research that we did internally in Essilor with third-party consumers. What we wanted to do in the UK was to get out there, talk to some of the eye care professionals, and listen to what they've got to say about what they think about that generation today, but also some of the challenges they have to face in practice. Let me share a quick video with you.
Generation X people have demanding lives. They are very varied in terms of what they do, as well as being very active in terms of their lives. This makes them a very demanding user from a visual point of view.
I think modern patients in the presbyopic age range want more. There's been a massive change in their visual expectations and what they want their eyes to do for them. They have a whole gamut of things they want to do. They want to see computers, they want to see phones, they want to do everything. And their expectations from us are that they want to do that simply and easily. And getting products that do that for them is really important.
They are able to select where they spend their disposable income, and if they feel confident and genuinely believe that a product, service or experience will be worth their while, they'll very happily spend that money.
Any product fills certain niches. What patients really want is an easily wearable varifocal. They want something they can put on and they can adapt to rapidly. Gone are the days where we'd actually be telling patients 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even months to adapt to their varifocals. We're now expecting them to be put on the nose and by the door, acclimatising. Amazingly enough, what patients are looking for is something that they can forget. They want to be able to put their products on, whether it be contact lenses or spectacles, and forget they're wearing them. They don't want to have to think about it. And the more you can actually offer that to the patient, an easy visual environment that they really can access without thinking about, without worrying about, is going to make their lives much, much easier.
They don't see that there are any barriers to them being able to do everything that they should choose to do. Whereas I think the older generation, their expectation is not always quite so open. Generation X expectation is that the product should deliver absolutely everything every time.
Maybe you recognize yourself in some of the things which have been said. 2 clear expectations. They want to be able to do what they want to do, the Generation X, without to have to slow down the pace of what they're doing. Very quick adaptation. And they want to multitask, navigate seamlessly between the various things that they want to do. Checking the iPhone, driving, checking the sat-nav, that type of thing. It has to be seamless. So we went a bit further in terms of research. In total, all the consumer research that we've been doing, it's over 2,700 people that we've been researching. We've been using some traditional way of researching. But as I said, innovation in the process. We've introduced a complete new way of thinking, new way of researching with X series. And I just wanted to highlight 3 of them. The first one is focus group. We've been doing focus group for years. But that one, we've done it a bit differently. We've put people, real people, everybody's a real people, but we've put real people in a house, and we did ask them to live how they were going to live normally, wearing varifocal products, sometimes X series, sometimes not, and ask them to make comments. We've been recording them, we've been filming them. And all of that allowed us to get back a lot of insight to really clarify the direction of the innovation and what was going to be the priority. Aude is going to talk a bit more about that a bit later. The second thing is web listening. When we launched S-Series in 2011, 2012, we already had access to that type of tool, web listening, but in 5 years, the world has changed enormously. And now the volume of information that we can get from browsers, such as Google, or from social networks, such as Facebook, or other things which are digital, is huge. And actually, the main challenge is not really to get back all that information, is to make sure we can analyze it, we can prioritize it, and we can act upon it. And for the first time, X-Series has been using that type of technologies, that type of tool, to really define where the innovation had to sit. And last but not least, I thought it was worth sharing that one with you, selfie videos. That's been a new way of researching consumer needs and what was the real problem. We asked to a few consumers to, again, act as if they were in their daily life, taking selfies, and commenting about the main limitations that they still have, even with the best varifocal and even with the best Varilux of the market. What are still the main limitations you've got? When you take all of that together, increasing population, baby boomers versus Generation X, the research that we've been doing, the expectation of the Generation X, and still the main limit of even the best varifocal or the best Varilux of the market, it was clear that there's still a challenge, there's still an opportunity to resolve the postural issues. We still have patients, where is the product, where they have to find a little bit the sweet spot, the right zone, where to look through the lens to have the most accurate vision, or they even have to move their head a little bit still. And those 2 elements, I can read the quote, I'm sure that you've been experiencing that quote in practice, but those 2 elements are starting to giving you a clue of what X-Series is about and where the true innovation is going to sit in X-Series. So to start to talk about the product, I'd like to welcome on stage Aude, who is the product manager here at Essilor. And thank you very much for your attention.
Good afternoon, everyone. So as you just seen from Jonathan's presentation, we have really put the consumer at the heart of our innovation process. And by carefully studying consumers' behavior, by listening to presbyopes, and by understanding the challenges that they are still facing today, and by adapting our methodology to a fast-evolving world, we have created a new frontier in varifocal lenses. And it is with great pleasure that we are here today in Manchester to introduce this 8th generation of Varilux lenses that will revolutionize the world that will revolutionize the lives, of millions of wearers. So Varilux X series. So what will this new lens deliver to the wearer? Well, very simple. It will give wearer extended vision within arm's reach. And what do we mean by this? We mean that wearer will experience deeper, wider vision, and they will no longer need to move their head to find the sweet spot to see clearly. And how did we achieve this? So we had to completely revisit our approach to near vision. So until now, and since the development of Varilux Comfort, progressive lenses were designed in order to provide clear vision at a precise distance. And this distance, back in the 90s, we consider that being at 40 centimeters and in a single plane. However, by studying today's consumer, today's wearers, and understanding how their lifestyle have changed, how their needs and expectation have changed, we came to the conclusion that the static consideration of near vision is obsolete. Wearers spend more time indoors. They want to switch from one activity to the other, and therefore they want to move from one distance to the other. And they want to be able to do that seamlessly and with fluidity. So today, we are not now considering one single near, but multiple single near. And we are bringing this new dynamic vision to wearers. And Jonathan explained in this presentation that, when some question were asked to wearers, well, something that really matters to them, everything that happened within this arm reach sphere, so between 40 to 70 centimeters. And we're just going to have a look at an example, and it's a situation that I'm sure you will be very familiar with. So we've got a very standard working station. We've got the lady working, she's got a laptop, she's got a smartphone, a tablet, a drink. And again, she's going to be switching from a laptop to a smartphone, back to the laptop, having a sip of a drink. And really what today's wearer are expecting is to be able to switch from one of those devices to the other seamlessly and without having to move their head. So as we're talking about this 3D sphere that enable us to define the visual need of the wearers, we need to introduce a new notion. And this notion is of volume of vision. And volume of vision is now the new criteria performance to evaluate the performance of a lens. And volume of vision will provide wearer with this dynamic vision that they now need, want, and expect. And this is truly a revolution in lens conception. And again, the wearer will expect extended vision within arm's reach. Varilux X series will provide them with the highest match for their visual need, whilst practically eliminating the need for them to move their head to see clearly. And by staying true to our approach of having the consumer at the heart of the process, we've carried out some extensive research. And I will cover some more of those results later on this afternoon, but just wanted to give you a little insight into some of the great results that those tests have given us. So again, focusing on this multitasking within arm's length, we ask wearer, to rate the lens and what their satisfaction level were. An incredible 95% of wearers are satisfied with their Varilux X series when multitasking within arm's length. And what is even more impressive with this result is that this result is given by the standard Varilux X design. So the Varilux X series range will come with 3 products. So the standard Varilux X design, which will provide wearer with this dynamic vision within arm's reach. And then for the 2 other products within the range, Varilux X Track 2 and Varilux Exclusive 4D, we are introducing a new personalization parameter called near vision behavior. And Andy will explain more in detail what this new personalization parameter is. With Varilux Exclusive 4D, wearer will benefit from the ultimate visual solution as well from the ultimate experience in practice with the VisiOffice measuring device. So not only are we innovating with the design, with Varilux X series, but we are also innovating with this new personalization parameter, near vision behavior. So before Andy reveals all the secrets behind the lens, I'll pass you over to Benjamin Rousseau, who is the R&D project manager who's worked for many years on Varilux X series, and will explain to you how R&D has transformed their process in order to create Varilux X series.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be here and to share with you some information regarding innovation in the Essilor R&D department. So my name is Benjamin Rousseau. I'm in charge of all the development of the Varilux X series in R&D. And this is a 5-year complete work we have done for delivering this product. So we will talk about innovation, and as you can see on the title of this slide, is user-centric R&D. And for sure, when we are making some progressive power lenses, we are making some products for individual persons, so we are always user-centric. And you had some information from Jonathan and Aude about changes in life of our presbyops. And for sure, for us in R&D, we have understood that the consumer, the end user, changing in their lives, will have new challenges for their vision. And we need to innovate to answer those challenges and to bring them some quality, performance, and satisfaction with our products. The challenge for us is to have access to the real information coming from real life of wearers, to be able to generate innovation answering those needs. But before going to the new Varilux X series, I will come back at the very beginning, the first Varilux one, invention of Bernard Maitenaz 60 years ago, almost 60 years ago. This was a revolution on two major aspects for me. First was on the technology, the calculation, and the ability to create the first varifocal surface, which was really a revolution. Second, and most important for the business, the ability to have created all the machines we have in labs to manufacture the product and those complex surfaces. But he have started by doing some prototypes. And he have performed for us the very first user test, giving the first prototype to his father. And I heard from Bernard Maitenaz it was not really satisfying for his father, something really hard. And in comparison to the bifocal at that moment, it was not the perfect solution for the user. But I think you know the story, and with the second generation, with Varilux 2, we have started to gain a lot of market share against the bifocal thanks to the varifocal. If we go a little bit later, in the beginning of the 80s, we have started really to formalize the methodology of innovation with the users in Essilor R&D. This story is for the Varilux Comfort, where we have introduced, I think you know it, the dioptric loop. Dioptric loop is a process of iterative innovation, where we have access to the wearer at 2 steps, during the wearer test, but also when we are collecting data from those tests. And we are using all this knowledge to perform calculation, new products, and after manufacture prototype and test it. We are continuing the loop until we reach a level of satisfaction for the user, which is in accordance with our ambition. For each product starting in the 19th, we have continued to use this process, and we have continued to improve it. The challenge for us is to have more data coming from the user to improve our knowledge of their needs. And the next example was when we have introduced the live optics. Live optics, each word are important here. We have the 4 major competencies of Essilor R&D to be able to develop new products: visual system research, design modeling, prototyping, and live testing. And at the top, you have 2 key knowledge boxes, the knowledge of the human behavior, but also the knowledge of the physiology and the optics. And by combining this knowledge, by combining our competencies, we were able and we are able to deliver the most adapted product by the Essilor lenses for the wearers. For sure, I think Essilor, with the 60 years experience we have with users, we have the biggest amount of knowledge of the user in the ophthalmic world and against all the competitors. To continue to acquire some data, some information coming from the user, Essilor R&D is investing in new technology. Here you have 3 examples of what we have used for the previous generation of products. On the left, here you have an aberration, high order aberration simulator, which was a really interesting tool, for example, for the development of the physio product. In the middle, you have an illustration of an experiment where we are using some eye tracker system. And when we are able to get data coming from visual strategies of wearer with and without lenses. And on the right, you have a picture from our virtual simulator based in Paris, where we can have 2 types of experiments. One to have interaction of simulated real-life condition, and second, to be able to simulate effect of different design in terms of distortion and visual effect to select concept of lenses we will test after in the dioptric loop with real testing. For the Varilux X series, we have used a completely new environment. We call it the Movies Lab. It's also a laboratory installed in Paris where we have the chance to have a complete room dedicated to vision and motion. This is a technology similar to special effect in movies. We have 8 infrared cameras that are able to measure the position of small markers. You can see the marker here on the purple, and also on the objects. So we have a real-time recording of all position of the object and the people, and we are able to have access to the visual strategy, the posture strategy, and the interaction of the people with the objects. This is something which is more suitable to reproduce real-life environment because we don't have wires and people are in a simulated environment like we make them cook some pastries, we made them using their laptops, we made them discuss, interact with other people, and so we have tried to reproduce all the new challenges of our X generation described by Jonathan. By doing this and using our Movies Lab, we are now closer to the wearer in real life. We have access to data corresponding to interaction with others, and we are also able to see emotional situation. But without this Movies Lab, it will have been really a challenge for us to move from this qualitative information to the quantitative data we can use thanks to the Movies Lab and thanks to the 3D measurement we can do in this lab to have access to those needs in data that we can use to perform the calculation and the new innovation with the product that Andy will present you just after. So I think you understand user-centric R&D is a continuous process that we try to improve. We're doing those improvements by new devices, new laboratories, but also by methodologies. And now in R&D in Essilor, we are performing innovation by doing design thinking. Design thinking is a way of starting the innovation always by the end user. Not only by trying to listen to him, but to always start with their new needs and only needs. You have here three cycles of different innovation. You have one cycle corresponding to the business potential of an innovation, technology feasibility, and people desirability. We will always start from this part. I will say no more technical push of products, no more business opportunities coming from R&D. We will always propose new products coming from real needs on which we are proposing innovation, technical innovation, and business viability that will bring at the end, and this is the case for the X series, a product answering real needs and giving real innovation on technology and business viability. So just to illustrate this purpose on the Varilux X, I propose to show you a short video on the innovation process.
Today, people over 40 want to live life to the fullest and stay connected with their surroundings. Previously, in the design of a progressive lens, Essilor only considered a single distance for near vision in only one viewing direction. Now, Varilux X series takes into account the full range of visual needs between 40 and 70 centimeters from the eyes.
C'est pour ça que pour le nouveau produit Varilux,
we decided to focus the new X series on this sphere, which is very important for our wearers.
Nous avons changé notre approche. We changed our approach. We wanted to observe wearers in their everyday lives to understand them better. We conducted a far-reaching societal study with presbyobes across the world and experimented with some new methods, including selfie videos and online testimonials.
We also wanted to base our innovations on measurable data and transform this insight into design parameters. We used our experimental lab, Movis. We placed sensors on lens wearers, then used cameras to capture their movements in real time and in 3D. This allowed us to model those movements and generate data on which we can perform research in real time.
Essilor went through a number of testing iterations. The simulator was an essential time-saving step for validating their assumptions, but nothing can replace testing under actual conditions. Essilor put together a study designed to show how well users' expectations were being met. Consumers wore the lenses during their daily activities, and for Varilux X series, a house laboratory was also used. Lens wearers were studied in everyday situations, such as going downstairs, repairing small objects, and multitasking.
95% of Varilux lens wearers are satisfied with their vision whilst multitasking at arm's length distance.
9 out of 10 Varilux X series wearers no longer need to move their heads to see clearly. We gave them the visual fluidity they were looking for.
So thank you for your attention, and now Andy will explain you all the secrets behind the product Varilux X series.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, and the other previous speakers, as it were. So, good afternoon, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon to the people who are watching us online. I want to start by thanking in particular a little more Benjamin, as he and the R&D team have afforded me the opportunity to talk about an area which is I'm most passionate around, which is varifocal lens design. So when I have the opportunity, and it sounds a little selfish, but when I get the opportunity to speak technically to you about a new generation of Varilux, it's something that gets me out of bed in the morning with a hop and a skip, shall we say. So I need to apologise as well a little bit, because I'm going to mention the same phrases which you've heard a few times already, certainly from Ord and Benjamin and Jonathan, because they're absolutely crucial to this new design that we're bringing to the market for you guys to dispense onto the end wearer. And I'm going to be mentioning arm's length vision. And as has been mentioned before, so forgive me for repeating this, but arm's length vision is 70 centimetres to 40 centimetres. And as has been mentioned previously, this is absolutely crucial for a modern-day varifocal lens to be performing within that particular sphere, between that 70 to 40 centimetres. And when you look within the lens side of things, we're looking at 60% of the ad to 85% of the ad. That is absolutely critical for a varifocal lens for the modern environment. The other phrase that I'll use as well, which has been mentioned before, is volume of vision. And again, volume of vision, which was described previous, is very much more, we're not talking about that static single actual distance that the varifocal lens can provide a clear vision for. And then the patient would need, or the wearer would need to move their head to try and search for the sweet spot within that varifocal lens design. That's changed with Varilux X series as a consequence of us considering the volume of vision that is delivered by this new generation of Varilux lenses. I'm going to take one quick step back before I move forward and plough forward, because I want to show you those two particular features which you've heard possibly me, certainly any of my Essilor colleagues present to you when we were describing what Varilux S series would deliver to your patients, the end user as it were. These are the two key features of Varilux S series. Nanoptics. Nanoptics look to break the lens down in some ways into tiny points, micro points within the lens. And by getting those micro points, what we could do is we could optimize the actual structure of the lens. So we could change the form of the lens, if you like. And in doing that, what we could do is dramatically reduce the swim-sway effect that the wearer would observe. Second part, and its neighbour, was very much synchronize. And synchronize was just a word that we actually used to highlight to ECPs, to you guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's very much about we, for the first time with S series, back in 2012, when we were designing it, we started to think, rather than just as a monocular, single lens, we thought of them as a pair of lenses. And we considered much more actually the binocular target that the observer, the wearer of that particular pair of lenses, would be observing. And we filtered back from that binocular target back into either lens, both the right and the left lens, and in doing that, what we could do is we could generate a much wider field of vision for the end wearer. These two features, they worked very, very well with Varilux X, S series, but what we needed to do, because this is 2012, and what Benjamin and the R&D teams have been doing since then, since the day after we launched S series really, started to work on the new generation. The new generation, this Varilux X series lens. So what they needed to do is to build into this new generation something like a new feature, something that's going to really deliver a much, much better performance. So what I want to do is to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this new key feature which underpins the reason why Varilux X series works so well. Welcome to Extend. Now, Extend is an interesting part because Extend is best described as a calculation tool. So it's a calculation which knits in predominantly with the nanoptics side of things, and it incredibly builds on the performance that nanoptics, to a lesser extent synchronize, can deliver to the end wearer by actually driving much better performance into the actual lens. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the Extend technology is actually doing. Because how? Just, we can put a name up there, we could call it whatever we liked. We need to justify what we're actually building into the lens to deliver the performance we keep talking about. So if we look, in particular, this is the actual motion and vision lab. This is my favourite bit of the innovation. So what we have, this is a patient within the motion and vision lab, the MOVIS lab. That's them looking, that person looking at an iPad, and now that's her head tilt there. She's looking at a screen of a laptop, then the keyboard. That's her looking at a PC screen. Now that's a person who sat opposite her at a desk. All the targets you've seen, this lady in this particular, this image behind me, this animation behind me, what she's actually doing and what we were capturing, what the R&D teams were capturing, was more than simply what is the distance from her eyes that she's actually holding that particular target, that iPad for argument's sake, or that smartphone, or where she's positioning the laptop. We needed to go beyond that. We needed to know more than that, because we also needed to know posturally how she held herself, or how he held himself within this MOVIS laboratory. The final point we needed to know is what we understand then is what exact point of the lens is he looking through, or are they looking through to deliver the performance that they need to be able to see that particular target. We also needed to do, and what the MOVIS lab introduced to us, what was the actual acuity that the lens needs to provide that particular wearer through that particular point of the lens, which is the point of the lens where they want to be observing that particular target. Incredibly powerful tool. This is incredibly powerful background information as to what a modern day presbyopic wearer needs that varifocal lens to deliver to them, as it were, in a modern day environment. All touched on this slide, but I'm going to repeat it. No apologies for repeating this particular point. And again, this is no disrespect to previous designers of varifocal lenses, because we were amongst them. We considered, when we started the conception of a new varifocal lens generation, we considered just a single target for a single point on that particular lens. If the patient wanted to observe something which is a little bit behind that particular, say, smartphone for argument's sake, so the tablet was there, what the patient would have to do with a varifocal lens designed traditionally is change their head position and their eye position. Put simply, the patient would need, or the wearer would need, to adjust their head to uncover the sweet spot. Where does that actual varifocal lens deliver me performance which allows me to observe that particular target? What we realised, and what the R&D teams picked up, in particular from that Movies lab, and all the other research they were piling into it, modern-day wearer is not interested in that. A modern-day wearer doesn't want to have to search for the sweet spot, as I refer to it as a dispensing optician. What they want to be able to do is to load on different targets to that same point on the lens and be able to look at them and view them accurately. Put simply, get the acuity they need to actually be able to see that target, whether it be at 40 centimetres or 35 centimetres, all the way through to 50, 60 centimetres. They don't want to have to keep moving their head to uncover the point on the lens which is going to provide them with the acuity they need. So how? And again, I don't want to spend too much time on this particular slide, but just in summary, the basis of what the Extend technology is doing, that particular calculation, what it's providing into the varifocal lens design are buffers. So it's taken that non-optics approach and it's applied buffers within to it. And the two key things these buffers are actually providing into that particular lens, the primary one, in my particular mind, is very much it changes the gradient at which the power changes through the area of clear vision in the Varilux X series design. Power profiles, I used to love them. I love looking at them in that particular respect. That's the key thing, that's the key difference that Extend is driving and delivering into the Varilux X series. It's changing the rate at which the power changes down that area of clear vision for the particular wearer. And it allows them to capture that depth through the different points of that area of clear vision. In a secondary point in my mind, it clears up some of the aberration. And it does a good job at clearing up some of the aberration, but we need to move our mindset around just considering a good varifocal lens design to be one which is ever wider in terms of areas of clear vision, and we got less swim sway. Because we can keep coming back to you, we can keep saying, oh, we're even wider again. We've got even less swim sway. 5 years later, oh, we're even wider again, and there's even less swim sway. A modern day presbyopic wearer needs the varifocal lens to do much, much, much more. The calculation, as I mentioned, it was difficult to find a slide which would allow us to show the complexity of the algorithm that's embedded into this particular software. It's just suffice to say that there's been a huge, huge amount of work going on in the background. So once we understood what a modern-day varifocal lens wearer needs the varifocal lens to do, we needed to be able to build that into a design. So we build that into Varilux X series. So the complexity of this particular calculation is fairly mind-melting. I think Mo's sat to my left there, and even Mo would, in some ways, need at least probably an hour or two to get under the skin of the complexity of the algorithm, that side of thing, if we were communicating it. Again, I'm going back a step here a second because I'm absolutely certain, I can see some of the faces who I know very, very well within the audience here, and I'm absolutely certain at one stage or the other, I've shown you this particular graphical representation of varifocal lens performance. Simple. In this particular graphical representation, the golden squares you see there on that particular chart, they are premium varifocal lenses. I'm not showing you, comparing Varilux S series and Varilux X series against entry-level varifocals. This is the cream of the crop within the UK market. These are all very good varifocal lens designs. And what the graphical representation is showing, the higher that golden square is up the chart, the less swim the wearer of that particular design will receive from that particular design. Further to the right you are in this particular graphical representation, the wider the areas of the fields of vision are in that particular design. Now, that is where Varilux X series sits. It's very good. It's very, very good. If we're still playing in that two-dimensional mindset, we're just thinking of white the field and swim sway. We need to go beyond that. We have to go beyond that for the new wearers. And this is where this third dimension comes in. The third dimension I've added to this particular graph. So we've still got our swim, we've still got a reduction of swim, we've still got the widths of field, but the additional parameter I've added into here is the higher you climb in this particular third dimension, the greater the volume of vision that varifocal lens design delivers to the end wearer. I spend quite a lot of time at home with the wife looking at this image. Nobody really laughed enough then, really, for that, because you genuinely think I do, don't you? Please, I don't. Let's pause it for a second there. Again, I keep saying this because it's so, so important. We need to think in these terms of three dimensions, this additional dimension, this volume of vision that a varifocal lens needs to deliver to your patients. It's ever more important to that end user in that particular part. And when we look at it as a static image there, we can see, and we can make out that particular image on the right-hand side of that slide is showing that Varilux X design is going to deliver more in terms of volume to that end wearer. And again, let's get back in the motion and vision lab. This Movies lab, that is what the volume of vision that a single vision near prescription would give. That's a line, that's a D-seg bifocal. That's what that would deliver to the end wearer. That's a varifocal lens. That's a higher end varifocal lens. That is the volume that the end wearer actually gets from the performance of a previous generation of varifocal lens design. And that last one there was what Varilux X series delivers to the end wearer. So I'm not just sitting up here talking to you about all these different phrases, arm's length vision, volume of vision. What's actually happened is we understood that's what the end needed, that we worked out that is what the end wearer needed, but then before we can launch to you guys and ladies and gentlemen, we needed to make sure we had a product that had delivered on what we really need it to do. And that's what was captured, in particular within that Movies lab. We really, really captured the performance that Varilux X series would deliver to the end user. And that's in this static form. That's the difference. Let's go back. That's a traditional varifocal lens, if you like. Not too bad. It's pretty good. We've got, we're considering the arm's length vision here, though. 70 centimetres to 40 centimetres. What are you delivering? What are you giving me? This is what the patient's asking. That's what a traditional varifocal lens would deliver. That is what Varilux X design delivers to the end wearer. Let's get it as a percentage. So if we look and if we capture exactly what an end wearer wants from that within that arm's length vision, and we did that within the Movies lab, and then if we add the Varilux X series to that end user, and provide the X series across wearers, Varilux X series delivers a 75% match between what an end wearer really, really wants if they didn't need correction, and then what they get from a varifocal lens design. If you compare that to premium, there are other varifocal lens designs, and we've tested and tested and tested. 59%. So what this new generation of Varilux is delivering to the end wearer, the entry level of this Varilux X series, so X design, it delivers a 75% match as to what that end wearer wants within that arm's length vision, 70 centimetres to 40 centimetres, and we're comparing that against other premium options for a particular patient, which can only get to 59%. What I've spoken about so far is just all around what is delivered by the, and again, I hate using this phrase in terms of, you know, parts of the Varilux X series. The entry X series option is Varilux X design. All I've spoken about so far, and that extend technology is embedded into Varilux X design. The R&D team, they unbelievably weren't happy with just that simple performance I showed you a second ago. That's 75%. They wanted more. And the other interesting part of this is very much that what they saw within that Movis and within the other research that they were doing on presbyopic wearers, they noticed something fairly seismic. And indirectly, what the Essilor International R&D team have done is they've turned me into a peeping Tom. Because if I'm ever on a train, if I'm ever in the family home, if I'm ever in a coffee shop, anything like that, what I've become obsessed with is looking, if there's somebody who's got an iPad, I'm hoping there's other people within the audience that do this as well, it's not just me. But if you look at someone, when they've got their iPad, you can see it's it can be very, very different in terms of the actual posturally, how they hold themselves, and as, if not more importantly, where they're holding the iPad. And it's the object manipulation of that iPad as well. Some people are very, very strange in the way that they hold the iPad in terms of that object manipulation side of things. I always thought that everybody did exactly the same as me, which is very much, there we are, it's as easy as that. But the R&D team, they picked up on this within the Motion and Vision Science Lab. And what they realised is what we needed to do is go beyond what Varilux X design delivers to the end user and go beyond what we can do in terms of personalising it to that end user by actually taking a look and allowing you guys as ECPs to actually measure what the near vision behaviour of that end user is going to be. This is going to be much more straightforward when we go into the breakout groups a little later, because you'll get hands-on with this particular tool, this near vision behaviour tool. It was absolutely fascinating stuff, because it really, really opened my eyes, quite literally, as to this was an area that I really didn't think that existed within the patient base, as it were, within members of the public. I assumed everybody was very, very similar as to how they held that device. So their near vision behaviour was very, very similar. But what the R&D team wanted to do is to make us have an option to work with you guys as to allowing you to provide you with a tool that allows you to capture a patient, the end user's near vision behaviour. How do they hold that particular tablet? And a few other little parts which I'll come on to in a second. So to start with, and again, it's going to be easier when you get hands-on with this a little later. It's quite simple. This particular technique is what's called pseudo-reading task. Because the last thing that R&D knew that we couldn't provide you with was just to go really, really simple and get you guys to correct that particular patient with their near vision, and then provide them with an N5 reading task, and then observe what their reading position was. Because immediately, by providing them correction for their near vision, you've changed what their near vision behaviour might have been. You've squeezed them into possibly a different position to where they'd want to be normally. So what they created was this tool called pseudo-reading task. And the pseudo-reading task it's been approved by academics and key opinion leaders internationally, in particular at this event in America recently. It's been very, very well received in that particular environment. But I'm going to skip through this fairly quickly because, as I say, we need to get hands-on with it so you can see exactly how this near vision behaviour, the pseudo-reading task works. But I'll skip through these next points here. So all you need to do is really, really quickly take a reference measurement, because what we need to do is to have the iPad, which is the app's embedded into. We need the iPad to know exactly where the patient's actually standing in the upright position. The camera will measure the clips, the markers on the clips which are on the frame. And then you sit the patient down, and you sit the patient down in a natural conditions. One key thing is you wouldn't want to sit the patient on a chair which has got arms. Immediately you do that, what you've done is you've shifted that natural vision behaviour because you've manoeuvred them that to position where they can rest their elbows on. They might not want to, in a natural vision behaviour side, actually want to be positioning that iPad there. They might want to be much, much lower down. And we need to work with you guys to help you capture exactly that near vision behaviour. And again, it's integrated with VisiOffice, and that's just to streamline the ordering process as much as anything else. And you can see the top right there. That's just flicking through really quite quickly there. So you've got that series of grey circles, and then the near vision behaviour task simply illuminates those grey circles with a blue stimulus. And you simply ask the patient to follow the blue stimulus. And then what you have is the iPad camera with the clip sensors will measure exactly what that patient's near vision behaviour is. And we can embed that into the Varilux X design to refine the performance still further. And we're going to get hands-on with this a bit later, but that's the clip that you place onto the patient's frame. That's the app that we'll provide you with, and then you can see that's the near vision behaviour task. You're simply asking the patient to observe the blue stimuli. And it's the camera on the iPad and the sensors on the clip which are measuring exactly that behaviour. It's powerful, really, really powerful. So what's it changing within the design? Because there's no point in adding another personalisation parameter if it doesn't do anything into the design. This does a whole heap into the design. This changes things. This changes things within that particular design. 3 key bits there, 1, 2, and 3. That's the posture. I'm going to exaggerate this for a moment. From that particular part, what we need to know is what is their gaze? How much do they lower their head and their eyes to read that particular task? Holding that iPad. What is the distance they hold that iPad away from them? Laterally. How offset is that iPad? Because those 3 key things are absolutely vital if we're going to start swinging and changing that volume of vision and realigning it to best suit that near vision behaviour. The 4 number on there, so the plus, the visual behaviour piece, this was something, again, we were trained technically in January around this product, I was absolutely certain that when I look at an iPad, I don't change my posture, I don't change my head. If I'm just going to observe those blue stimuli, I keep my head very, very stationary, and I just look down through the lens, as it were. And some people do. The one thing that I didn't realise I did, and when it's been measured, I've been measured countless times with it, and I've been as robust as I can, what I do is I nod my head. I look down, up and down quite a lot. So that actually is really, really important, because that nodding, the more that you actually nod your head, so the more mobile your head is as you're observing that near vision behaviour task, the more changes we need to make, in particular to the rate at which the power changes in that arm's length vision range. So all these things are knitting into that particular design, and we're refining the performance of Varilux X design to introduce the 2 improved versions, up to, and the big peak would be Varilux exclusive 4D. So how is it measured? So you'd measure this in practice, of course, and from that particular point, the near vision behaviour part, it would come out at you as an alphanumeric number, an alphanumeric code, and then you provide us with that alphanumeric code, and we can embed that particular code into the design and refine the design to match that patient's near vision behaviour. And the one thing, and I've gone through this, I'm nearly at the end now, but the other thing I haven't mentioned at any stage at all, which is also embedded into the design, of course, is the prescription. Of course it is. Of course it is. The frame fitting. If you provide us with that, we need to add that into the calculation. Eye code. Where is that patient's eye rotation centre? How far is that patient's eye rotation centre from the back vertex of the lens? We can knit that into the design to improve and enhance the performance of that particular design. Dominant eye. If you've got the Visio Office, of course, you get the option to actually measure which that particular patient's dominant eye. If you tell us what the dominant eye is, what we can do with you guys is to actually refine the actual performance and the design of the lens that sits in front of their dominant eye. And in doing so, we can improve their reaction speed. None of this has gone anywhere, as it were. We've just bolted on additional parameters and additional performance into the Varilux X design and the Varilux X Track 2 and the Varilux exclusive 4D. Because in summary, what we're actually delivering through Extend technology, that's the bit that's really worked on that particular part of the lens between 70 centimetres, 40 centimetres. That's 60% of the reading out to 85% of the reading out. That's where the big change within Varilux X series comes. Near vision behaviour, that refines that volume within the lens to best match how and where that particular patient needs that particular position to be. And this is the difference in performance. That's so that's Varilux X design, and then that's the situation happens when we introduce the near vision behaviour into it. It shifts that volume of vision to exactly, or more or less exactly where that particular patient needs that volume of vision to be for them. Numbers, numbers, numbers. I showed you a few slides ago. X design delivers a match of 75%, which is well beyond what existing premium varifocal lenses can perform at 59. We've moved that to 75% with X design. If we go up from X design into Extract 2 and exclusive 4D, we can pull it from 75% to 84%. We're shifting, we're improving the overall performance of the lens by adding these personalised parameters into the design.
Today's Generation X press buyups are 40-somethings who lead faster-paced lives than previous generations. They're multitasking all day long in an accelerated, busy world. Progressive lenses should not slow them down in their action and movements. However, even the latest technologies continue to force wearers to move their heads to find the right vision zone. Today's press buyups expect fluidity to keep up with the pace they have. Varilux X series reinvents near vision. Actually, there is not just one type of near distance, but multiple near distances that are important to wearers. New Varilux X series allows to seamlessly capture every detail within arm's reach, as well as beyond. Since all that really matters happens within arm's reach. The new Extend technology shapes a specific zone in the lens, the arm's length vision zone. Before, each nanoptics element was optimized to manage one target for one gaze direction. With Extend technology, nanoptics elements are cross-optimized by clusters of 7 to manage multiple targets for one gaze direction. Thus, Extend technology delivers extended vision within arm's reach. Combined with a reinvented experience of personalization in store, Varilux X series sets press buyups free from annoying head movements and allows them to regain agility and spontaneity in their actions.
Okay, well, I'd like to say a big thank you for everybody for joining us for this morning. We're going to go, we'll be returning at 13:40, I believe, back to this particular room. But now it's time to, let's take a break, let's have some lunch. It's going to be in the Trafford Suite, I believe. So if you follow the lead of some of the Essilor team, they'll be manoeuvring over to the Trafford suite, and then we'll see you back in here at 13:40. Thanks ever so much.